Can you get a piece of your spouse's business if you're going through a divorce? Tune in as attorney Joseph Marra explains.
Let's talk briefly about, because that's one of the biggest problems lie in divorce, when someone has their own business. How is that valued? You have some people say, well, I am the business. If I leave the business, that doesn't matter. The court can appoint an independent appraiser, or each side can get their own appraiser to get the value of the business. And if you started that business during the marriage, guess what? That's totally a marital asset. There are many times you may have started a business before the marriage. Well, then might be the appreciation of the business. So you have to somehow be able to establish the baseline. What was the business valued at when we got married? If you can't do that, well, you might be out of luck. So, if someone has their own business, whether it be a auto parts business, a mechanic, a law practice, an accounting practice, that's a marital asset, and it has to be valued and divided. And some people don't think that's fair. They say, well, wait a minute, I put my blood, sweat, and tears. He or she had nothing to do with my business. Well, that might factor into the percentage that they get. So once again, remember that what's marital property is the first thing. What do we throw in the pot? So that's the first thing you determine. The extent of the marital assets and liabilities. That's number one. Number two is, how are they divided? And when you're talking about a business, it might be a factor. If you had a spouse who was the bookkeeper for the business, well, when they're involved in the business, they're going to get a bigger percentage. If they were not really involved with the business, well, they're going to get a lesser percentage. But remember, it's also a factor of the length of the marriage. If you have a 25-year marriage where, for 20 of those years, one spouse owned their own business and worked in the business, and the other spouse stayed home and raised the children, they're going to be entitled to closer to half than you have two people who never had kids in a 20-year marriage and were totally separate in their businesses. There's going to be a different division of the assets. And that's where you have the most acrimonious and argumentative situations. In those type of situations where there's a business and one person is actively involved and the other person isn't. But that's where you can have a lot of litigation. But bottom line is, the business has to be valued, and the value determined for determining whether or not it's marital assets and the value of the asset.
Thank you so much, Joe, for that important information. And thank you, audience, for watching. If you yourself or someone you know may have questions on this topic, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call the law offices of Joseph Marra. They are professional, friendly, and really great at looking at the pros and cons of your situation, coming up with a fantastic strategy, and giving you some options.